Hello and welcome to Lean In Leander. I'm your host, Andrew Naudine, and in this episode, I want to draw your attention to two of my favorite things in the city of Leander. First is the Old Town Festival, which takes place this weekend, June 5th, if you're keeping track. And you can go to Old Town Leander. It's a great little festival put on by the Chamber of Commerce and a number of sponsors. You can visit with vendors, visit food trucks, walk around, get a real good sense of your community here in Leander. If you're watching outside of Leander, come see what Leander has to offer. It's a lot of fun, and it's a really great way to spend a few hours on your weekend. Or, hey, if you want to be there from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., more power to you. I'll be running in the 5K. My son and I will be running in the 5K at the beginning of the event. And you might see us doing a few things from the Lean In Leander perspective. I'm not sure exactly if we're going to be able to pull that off, but we're going to give it a shot. Anyway, go to the festival, have a good time, enjoy yourself. Hopefully the weather holds out for us and we do have some sunshine, although I do believe there's going to be a little bit of rain, but we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that it's not too much and doesn't dampen the spirits this weekend. I know people are enjoying getting out again, and I certainly encourage you to add this to your list if you haven't already done so. The second thing I want to draw to your attention to is, again, one of my favorite things here in Leander. Two of my very good friends, Trish and Francine from Essential Jewelers. Now, Essential Jewelers will actually be a vendor at the Old Town Festival this weekend. So go see them there. And before you do that, watch this episode. Learn a little bit about their business and a little bit about what makes them tick. It's a really neat story, and there's a little bit of subtlety to my relationship with Francine. We go into it a little bit in the episode itself, but we're both from El Paso and we didn't know each other, but we actually did. So it's a really neat little story. I think you'll enjoy it. I enjoyed spending some time with them and having a little chat and seeing some of their wares. It's a really, like I said, really neat stuff they do with jewelry. I've been a fan since 2018 when we first went to the Old Town Festival and met Francine. So enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you at the end. I'm here at Visual Lyrics, and I'm meeting with the two ladies that I've come to know as Essential Jewelry. This is Trish Kernan and Francine Tucker. Thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
A little bit of a story here. Francine and I are kind of from the same town. It's probably too long to talk about here on the podcast, but she went to school with my little sister. And when we first came to Leander, my wife and I actually purchased some jewelry from Essential Jewelers. And I met Francine, and we talked, and we recognized each other at markets because we saw each other a couple of times, but never made the connection that this was the Francine my sister was talking about, because my sister kept telling me, you need to interview Francine. And I was like, okay. And then we finally made the connection. So this is one of those weird little Leander small town stories. It's a small world. But I appreciate having been able to get to know both of you because it's been a pleasure. I really have enjoyed learning about your business, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So I like to try to highlight some small businesses, and I picked Essential Jewelers for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're great. They're just fantastic folks, and I really have enjoyed getting to know them a little bit better. Number two is with the Leander, what is it now? The Summer Festival? It used to be an Old Town Festival, the Old Town Festival. Coming up in about a week from when this will air, you'll be able to find Francine and Tricia at that show. And I want you to go see them because they do really great stuff. So let's talk a little bit about your business, okay? So Essential Jewelry, this is something you guys have been doing for about 4 years now, right?
Yes.
When you first came up with tell me a little about the origin story. Like, this goes back to 2017. How did you guys start?
Go ahead, Trish.
So we started with, I started doing essential oils. I had learned about them through a friend and came to really like them and realized the medicinal purposes in them. Francine, we didn't know each other that well prior to all this. We had met each other in a few instances, but she's an oil lover as well. We both started using them, and we just kind of came upon the fact that we enjoyed our oils. We enjoyed jewelry, and she likes to tell the story of the evolution.
So I've been doing oils for a really long time, at least 20 years. I didn't even know it was like oils were a thing that people did until I was actually introduced by another friend, and she was like, here, use this peppermint for your headache. And so I did, and I was like, this is amazing. I've only used it for, perfume purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put here, a little bit here, and good to go. Fast forward a little bit, Trisha helped me kind of get started on a specific brand of oils. And, we're trying to do a little bit of sailing of the oils, and it didn't go so well. It went kind of south very quickly.
Right.
Because I realized that people didn't really know about the oils and know really what to do with the oils. So I asked Trish, I said, hey, is there any way, a medium that we can use that could deliver the oils, the aromatherapy product, to a customer or someone who is interested in the oils and also, benefit from it? And she said, well, there is jewelry. And I said, well, is there like a bead maybe that we could put it on? And anyway, the rest was history. We decided to try it out, and we used lava to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go into the jewelry part of this, did you find that there was a resistance to the oils just because people didn't know maybe how to apply them or, what to do with it, generally speaking?
It was just a lack of knowledge of knowing how to apply it. The big thing is you use it in diffusers we have in our homes and stuff, and those are expensive. So sometimes, it's not the best route to go for someone, or or they do want to use it on their skin, but they're just a little timid of how to do that. So we had some of that knowledge, and we're able to share that, with our customers that came up to us. And
yeah,
so you were really looking for like a delivery vehicle.
Yeah. A vehicle that people were so apprehensive of, putting on their skin directly.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are apprehensive of oils. They don't know how to use them. And so this was a mode of getting them to be more comfortable using the oils. And so, we've been at places where we've introduced oils completely to people. They've never even heard of essential oils before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of fun. That's probably one of my most favorite people, that I can just start telling them about my experiences and sharing it with them. So.
Right. Now, my wife was the one who kind of started that with us. I was probably the patchouli kid or whatever, that was, back when I was dating myself. But, so I wasn't resistant necessarily, but it wasn't something that I necessarily thought about all the time.
Yeah.
And I know she liked them.
And it's easier now, too, because they've come more mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
So that was also an opportunity for us to get out there and help educate not only about the oils, having the jewelry, because they are much more well known. Because there are two major companies out there that supply oils, have really good supply and quantity, and so that has helped us, I think, tremendously in our journey.
Definitely, people are becoming more accepting for the fact that oils work.
They work,
and let's be real. We like to smell good. We like to smell good things. It takes us back. It makes us feel good.
Right, and again, like I said, when we first, it was like 2018, right? I think it was the first year you guys were at the Old Town Festival.
Yes, 2018.
So my wife and I are walking around going to all the various different stands, and I think what attracted her to you all first was the beads. Mm-hmm. And then when she realized she could use the oils, and she went and grabbed me, I remember very distinctly, because I was walking somewhere else. She went, hey, come here, I got to show you something. And she's like, and you can put the oils on the beads. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, makes you happy, honey. So, she bought me a couple little bracelets and put some oil on it. She's like, see, don't you feel better? I'm like, yeah, of course I do.
It's so fun to have people come in to when we're vending and not know what our product is. And you explain it to them and to see that joy, and to see that, oh, I've never heard of that before. We're like, wow.
Well, and to tell you, so I haven't told you guys this yet, okay, because we've talked a little bit beforehand, but one of the things, I kind of became a fan because at first I was just like, whatever, and again, I'm not like anti-oil or anything like that. I'm kind of a holistic person anyway, but I started using, I forget which one it was. There was one particular oil that I started using, and I really liked it. And I was like, wow, it actually kind of lifts my mood in the morning, you know. So it was really interesting, and I started to use it on the beads, and I was like, okay, this is easy. I don't even have to think about it. Just put a little bit on the bracelet.
Yeah, it becomes more like a routine.
Yeah, it does.
A morning routine. And,
it does.
And if you don't have your EJ, you're like,
yeah,
I need my jewelry.
exactly. No, it's true, because it did become habitual. And for me, it was a good thing too, because I was like, it kind of pushed me a little bit to look at some other things that, you know, that I do now. So I wouldn't have opened those doors necessarily to acceptance.
So to have that, you know, I mean, it's always the great, you know, display when somebody comes in, and I'm like, it's a personal diffuser. Oh, you know, the light goes on, and I'm like, yeah, if you're a teacher, you know, you're a nurse, you're somebody who's just having a stressful day, stressful time. What a great way to get that, elevate yourself and
the endorphins to
use that little kick.
Yeah, no, and it does work. It does work. I mean, I'm convinced, at least. You know, not an expert, but I have stayed at Holiday Inn. So anyway, all right. So you guys really were, I would say, almost pioneers in essential oil infusing, because there wasn't a whole lot of people doing that.
There wasn't a whole lot then, no. I mean, as we got on to looking on the internet, looking on Instagram, Facebook, and things like that, and trying to discover kind of where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do, there really wasn't.
No. There wasn't a ton of people doing the same thing. So, which was interesting. Again, going back to the markets, we would really have to explain what our oils did, and
it took a lot of explaining.
Yeah, there's still a lot of explaining that needs to be done. Anytime that you see us, we're talking, we're trying to explain exactly how to use it, because usually accessories you just put on, you don't think about it.
Right.
With this, there's actually intention. You put it on for the use of the oils, so that you can have your aromatherapy. And again, a lot of people have never even heard of oils to help lift mood. And so it's fun to be able to share that.
No, I think, and it's really, I guess, you know, when you frame it that way, because a lot of people would be a little bit more familiar with aromatherapy and the little, I guess they're diffusers, right?
Yes.
So I think you see those at HEB now.
It's become a lot more mainstream, like we were saying. It's, you know, over the course of the last 4 years, you know, we felt like, you know, you never saw them, and then literally about a year later, you saw them at Walgreens, and you saw them at, you know, big and they were mass produced. And we thought to ourselves, well, look there, now people are going to know a little bit more about our jewelry, that you know, we don't have to explain so much because it's so mainstream. And so that's been kind of fun, just kind of being we feel definitely like we're some of the pioneers of this type of jewelry.
Right. So you had told me this story before, but I kind of liked it. So I want to go ahead and hit on the visit from the Chinese dignitary. Apparently, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it was late night. I think it actually was at the Old Town Festival.
Yeah, it was.
And you know, it was winding down. It was kind of later on at night. We'd been there for 10 hours, and we were kind of ready to wrap up. And it was dark, and there's lights, and we had all of our lights real nice in our booth. And this man comes up, and I'm not sure exactly where he's from, but he doesn't speak. He just starts looking at our stuff. And of course, I take a look at him, and I see that he's wearing some very expensive shoes. He's completely decked out to the nines. He is on point with his attire. And he's picking up our jewelry, and he's looking at it, and he goes, and he keeps on just kind of nodding his head. And so I was a little apprehensive about talking to him, because I didn't want to bother him. I don't like to do the sales pitch stuff.
Right.
And so gave him an opportunity, and I said, do you have any questions? And he says, in broken English, he says, what's this for? And so I started to tell him about how you use the jewelry. And then I started telling him a little bit more about the story, because, in fact, all of our pieces actually have a piece of the past. And that's something we haven't talked about. And I think that's what really makes us kind of special, because we take apart old pieces, and then we repurpose. And so I told him, I said, well, so this particular piece has a 1950s bead. And he looks at me curiously, and he says, how? From where? And I said, well, we take apart old pieces of jewelry. And we very carefully deconstruct, and then we resurrect it back to a new, modern type of piece of jewelry where you can actually use it to put your oils. what, oils? And he was very excited about the whole thing. And so we continued talking, and he just nodded his head, and I think he, did a bow to me, because he was leading our, culturally. He was appreciative of me talking.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "This is a very good idea. Did you come up with this?" I said, "Well, we came up with this, yes, Trisha and I." And he goes, very, very interesting. Thank you so much." And he left, and we thought, "Oh, no, he's going to take off, and he's going to make millions with our idea." No, I'm kidding. We just were appreciative of the fact that someone of what, he would have never come to us, and he really wanted to hear about the story. And at the end of the day, that's what we love to share, is we can literally tell you what every single bead, where it came from, and we actually provide pictures and stuff too for people.
Now you're leaving out the part that was like a year later or something like that, where you saw something like your jewelry at a larger.
Oh, that was when we start seeing it at Walgreens.
So there you go. If you think people are not doing that, here's a story that might actually prove that does happen.
And like I said, Andrew, you can see them everywhere. You literally see Bed Bath and Beyond.
Right. But there's a difference in what that is as a retail product, and let's just call it the retail product. The $9.99 infused jewelry, and what you guys do. And what you guys do, you started to touch a little bit on it, Francine, which is what I find fascinating and extremely original. And this is ideation 10,000 in my opinion, because this is such a good idea. You guys, as you mentioned, you take jewelry and you deconstruct it in order to resurrect it in the pieces that you guys sell. So when I look at, I think I've got a couple of your pieces on my wrist right now, and if I look at this, what always stands out to me is this little blue bead that's on here. And I have no idea where this came from, but you guys might. But it's unique, and I'm like, well, that's interesting, and it makes for the piece. It makes a very interesting piece. And I get people ask me about these all the time. They're like, "Hey, where'd you get that?" So tell us a little bit more about that. Tell people, A, why you do that, and B, how you do it.
I think that we should probably start with where we are right now. I mean, honestly, we came across Visual Lyrics many years ago, 2016. And the family here, they repurpose a lot of their stuff. So they take things that they have used in weddings, old flowers, dried flowers, and they remake it. So that was very inspirational to us. We're like, that would be so cool if we could take what we had talked about, the lava or the sandalwood, to use with the oils, but then to also incorporate some old, repurposed stuff. And beings that this was the first time we've ever done this before, and we were really on a limited budget. And we decided, Trish said, why not use our own stuff? And we did. So
we started taking apart our own pieces of jewelry. She had things that she had gotten from, where was it? Puerto Rico? No, where was it?
Oh, Cancun, yes, from our wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And she had things from, she actually took apart old rosaries from her grandmother that were broken. And so what ended up happening is that Miss Donna here at Visual Lyrics gave us an opportunity to come here, because we were a little late on the Old Town Festival for that year.
Right.
And so we came here instead, and we just did our own little thing here, and she was so gracious to let us set up our jewelry here. And we made probably about 50 beads, 50 pieces.
50 pieces,
and just invited our friends.
And it was amazing. We had an amazing gathering. People came. People got to see not only us, but they got to see Visual Lyrics.
Yep.
So it was just a wonderful opportunity for us all just to share.
Just gather. And then we had our oils there, so we were able to talk about the oils. And it was really, what stood out to me the most is how people really, really love the fact that we were telling the story behind each of the beads when we were looking at the piece. And they said, that is so cool. That is really neat that you remember that. And it's like, that's my story, and I'm giving it to you. And so it kind of morphed, fast forward now, 2021.
So then we started thinking, we need to get more jewelry.
Exactly.
In order to get these old pieces. So then we had to kind of, think in our heads, what's a good resource. And then, we started thrift shopping, going online, looking at places,
They're
estate
gifted?
sales,
They were
gifted.
gifted to
Many
us?
times we
Yeah.
get gifted.
As a matter of fact, the piece that I'm wearing right now was gifted. A friend of mine used to make jewelry, and it fell apart. And so she was one of the first people that gifted beads to us, and these are 25-year-old seed beads. So it's part of the Val collection. So anyway,
okay.
it's kind of fun to be able to share this kind of history, a piece
Sure.
of somebody else's memories and love, and
It had energy in it before,
Yep.
giving it new energy. And the one thing we always like to say, jewelry with a story, jewelry with a purpose, and that's been one of our big mottos for us. And I think it holds so true.
Yeah.
That's just
it's
what
somebody
we're trying to
else's
do.
story. And just like you said, Andrew, the bead that you like, that is from an old piece. So it truly was a piece, and then there's several of those beads that are somewhere in the universe that are someone's wearing, and so it kind of makes us also feel connected to everybody. Everybody's connected somehow when they wear our jewelry. There's a little piece of someone else.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you're kind of united with other people.
Absolutely. I think it makes for a really, really, again, it's a really nice story, but it is a great idea. Now, I know that when we had a chat beforehand, you guys mentioned that you do some like consignment pieces and things of that nature. So tell us about how that would work. If someone were watching and they're interested, hey, my grandma or whatever, and they wanted to maybe share those pieces with more members of the family, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so we actually done that before, Andrew. When we talked before, I told you about my neighbor who her mother and her grandmother both passed away, and she had old costume jewelry from both her mother and grandmother. And she didn't really know what to do with it, and since she knew that I made jewelry, she commissioned me to make multiple pieces for the family members. So she gave me the pieces. I put them on a beautiful arrangement. I took a nice photo, so it was kind of like the last photo, and that's what we do with all of our pieces. Gave it its final photo, and then very carefully took it apart, and then placed beads in every single piece. And so they're all similar, but they're not the same, because every piece that we do is different. Everything is one of a kind. And so those people now have a piece of their grandmother, their great-grandmother, their great-great-grandmother.
Right.
So it's
That's
just,
super cool.
it's nice. And so if you're asking how, well, you just give,
And now
reach
it's
out
a
to us.
fashionable piece of jewelry again.
Yeah.
And they can wear it. And
So if somebody had something like that, they could obviously visit with you at the Old Town Festival in June, right? June 5th?
June 5th.
June 5th.
June 5th.
This will air before June 5th.
Yes.
Um,
Or reach out to us on email.
I was going
We're
to say.
very accessible. And we love to chat too. We like to know the history behind the pieces too. So.
No, that's great. That's great. So I think there's a few places in town where you can actually find them, right? So let's go ahead and mention those folks.
Okay.
So number 1, Visual Lyrics, right here on 183 in Leander. Number 2 would be Shop 1431. That's in the Cedar Park Regional Hospital. Right now, that one's kind of not totally accessible to patrons right now.
Still because of the COVID.
Because of COVID, they still have some strict restrictions, but they're expecting that to lift some. But they are online as well. You can visit with them. And then we have, where else are we at? We are at Unity Church on Anderson Mill. They have a gift shop in their church, and it's a wonderful little gift shop. They have not only jewelry, they have books, they have figurines, they have other handmade artisans have some things in there as well, and it's very, very cute, very nice if you get a chance to go in there. Not only just for the church, but really the shop is something. And then where else are we at?
We're in Cedar Park as well at Xenia and Claudia at her hair salon. So she gave us an opportunity to house our jewelry there. So yes.
That's fantastic. And that is a great example of small businesses helping other small businesses. I think it's super, super important, especially when you're in these, I mean, again, Leander's not tiny anymore, but it's still small business helping other small business, shop local, those types of things. I think it's a really important thing to highlight here. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention that so that anyone watching the podcast who happens to be near any of those places can actually just walk in and maybe buy a couple of pieces from Trish and Francine. Now, you guys, we've talked a little bit about the stones and a little bit about the oils, but what we really haven't touched on is this whole idea of holistic health and wellness, which I know is something that's really important to you. So while we're doing this, when you're putting together a piece of jewelry and you're adding the beads and whatnot, is there something you're thinking about specifically, like, oh, this would go really well with a particular blend, or is there some pre-thought to the jewelry as you're creating it, like this would be good for X oil? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and especially with like your piece in particular, that's the centerpiece. So we always start out with the old piece, and we allow whatever that old piece is, and I believe yours is lapis. And so it
is lapis, right?
Yes.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I was like, I didn't want to assume, but
that was you gravitated to probably no doubt the color, because that is big. The color spectrum, whatever you gravitate towards, typically is just something that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty simple. Also with the oils too. A lot of times the oils bring back a memory, nostalgic, and again, it helps with increase the happy feelings that you have. And so I guess really when we're talking about the oils and coupling them with the crystals, we do that, and we do that with our blends that we have. So
do you want to talk about some of the oils that you do? Because it is a special brand, right? It's not just, and you guys do your own oils too, if I remember correctly, yes?
So we do use a specific brand of oils that's very high quality. But then we take those oils and we actually take 3 or 4 of them and have blended them together. So we've made 4 individual blends of our own. And they each have their own intention, have their own purpose, distinct smell. So, and a lot of times people smell them and they are attracted to a certain one of them, and then whatever speaks to them is the one that they get when they come to our booth. But it is something unique for us to do that. It's just not something you can buy over the counter. It's something that we really sat back and tested on each other and worked with, and have found that we like and we enjoy, and that it did elate that feeling of happiness or calmness that we were intending for.
So the 2 that we came up with, because at first we did start using the blends that the major companies were using, and then we decided to do our own.
Let's try our own.
Let's try our own. Let's do our own stuff. So Present and Grounded were the 2 first. And it's amazing when people try these, they truly are. They're pretty, they either love it or they don't like it at all. And so we have them try them out.
So we have,
and we can always find at least one, if not all of them, that are pleasant to their scent and their own feeling of happiness.
So I'm going to use Grounded on here.
Grounded? Okay.
Yeah, because I need to stay grounded.
We all do. So
like
Grounded was a very popular blend. And that's another thing, Andrew, is that we want to give the opportunity for everybody to have the experience, because we call it an EJ experience. It's not just an accessory. It's something that you wear with intention, and you place your oils on there for a purpose. Mm-hmm. And so
it's got a little peppermint in it, doesn't it?
It's
spearmint.
It's got
Is it spearmint?
No, this actually has cassia in it. So cassia is the cinnamon.
Ah, okay. All right.
So,
yeah.
Grounded has lavender, patchouli, copaiba, and cassia, and it promotes happiness and balance. So,
I already feel better.
Good. Good. You should.
Not that I felt bad, but now I'm like, I really feel good.
But and that's what we do. We give a gift every time. So it's not just the bracelet. We actually give you a little dram. Where's my little dram here? Yeah, we give a little dram. It's about 20 drops. But just so that you can actually experience it. Because again, like I said, not everybody knows oils, or if they give it for a gift, It's nice to be able to give the accessory and the oil, not say, oh, well, you're going to have to use your own oil. So you can kind of give an opportunity to allow someone to sample something that maybe they've never tried before.
Right.
And again, going back to the main purpose, which was to try and give people the understanding of what exactly these oils do. Not only can I talk to you and tell you about it, I want you to actually experience it yourself with the sense of smell and how you feel.
And before you leave our booth, you get to try it. So that's the nice part too. And you can see again that smile. Oh, I've never experienced that before. So that's always a joy for us too to see.
So you guys you're not only passing on little time capsules with the jewelry, you're passing on actual emotions and essence that goes with that. Oh, yeah, that's great. It's really, to me, it's just a really heartwarming and uplifting kind of story which is one of the reasons I want to sit down with you guys, because it's cool. I like it a lot. Now, everything that you use is natural, right?
Yes.
And then when you're deconstructing a piece, you have several samples here, and I'll highlight those. But is it just like kind of like an inspiration, or is there a specific thing that you're thinking at the time, or is it just like we'll just sit down one day and start making stuff?
You know, sometimes it just comes into like, when do we have time?
Right.
Oh, there's that too.
Two busy moms, so it's like,
Right.
you know, you try to block out a time frame that we can do things. But sometimes I'm pulled into like, I may have taken something apart, my beads are sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to work with them. You know, it's just, it is a pulling that, and you just want to gravitate to it and create. And sometimes I don't know what I'm going into and what I'm going to make, and I just grab a bead and I just start with that centerpiece and then just go with it. And sometimes I, you know, then can focus on one of our pieces and be like, I know what I want to do with that.
Do each of you have like a unique style, or do you kind of gravitate to doing things kind of the same way?
Similar. They are similar.
Okay.
And sometimes we get inspiration from each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll look at something she did and I'm like, oh, I can try that. Oh, I didn't think those two colors would work, or the pairings. We're different, but similar, for sure. And sometimes it's funny when we're at the booths and somebody comes up and they buy, you know, something that which she had made or something I made, and we're always like, oh, I made that. Oh, I made that. You know.
Do you guys keep tabs on that? See who's winning?
Well, yeah, a little bit. Well, and it's what's funny because we have a lot of friends who, thank you friends for always being out there and supporting us, because that's awesome. But some friends, literally, we will have 100 pieces, and they will pick. Every single piece will be one of Trisha's, or every single piece will be one of mine, and we just kind of gloat. We just gloat like, yep, that's what, and they also say, so which who did this?
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of fun.
All right, so I know you have you've selected a piece today.
We
Okay,
did.
that's something you're going to start to deconstruct,
Mm-hmm.
and if you'll hold it up, I just want to make sure people see this, because with the Old Town Festival coming up, I'm thinking you guys can probably have a few pieces that'll include these
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
by the time you
Definitely
get there.
take that apart and
So
look
it's that green, it's like an emerald green.
Mm-hmm.
These are the Lean In Leander
Yes. Yes.
jewelry collection.
Look at
I'm just
that.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We're making you a piece with one of these beads, Andrew.
No, they're very, very cool. I mean, and I look at that and I remember that my grandmother had something very similar to that. It looks familiar to me, you know. Obviously not that one, and obviously not exactly the same, but it was something along those lines. So I just find it fascinating that you guys do that, because, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I know from my own experience where, you know, that'll end up in a garage sale, you know, and it's like,
it's
5
discarded.
cents or whatever.
It truly is. It's discarded material.
Sure.
A lot of these, you know, I mean, jewelry's not everybody's stuff, and they don't know what to do with it. It's not. It's not serving any purpose. Nobody's wanting to wear it. Maybe someone would wear it just as is, and it's a beautiful piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do, though, is we just put a little modern twist to it, a little modern and turn.
And out of this, I mean, look at how many wonderful beads there are, and how many things we can make out of it. I mean, gosh, we can make another.
There's probably, how many
out of
strands
it.
are there? One,
So there's
2, 3, 4 strands?
There's 5 strands.
5 strands, and there's
Yeah.
about 5 of those larger beads. So that's
so we can do so much with this. So that's the exciting
And that's
part.
going to go out into the world here, 2021.
2021, yeah. So all we do is we take these either scissors or we have cutters.
And usually it's Trish, so I usually look away.
And I can just come in and...
Wait, hold on. This, I want a disclosure here. I've already taken a beautiful photo of this. Okay? this has been done. It has a beautiful picture already taken, and then I look away.
Yep. And then, I mean, we just kind of come in and, I mean, just clip, if I can get it to clip. And then it'll come apart, and wait, actually this one might even be on string, so we might need scissors for that. Yep, it's on string. So we'll just cut it, and then between Francine and I too, we always divide everything half and half. We're
half and halfies.
Sometimes if there's a piece that has some unique, really individual pieces to it, and we're kind of like, I'll see her start eyeing a piece or two, and I'll be like, I know you want that one, you could have, you know. We just have fun.
Well, and like you were asking us, we have our own style, and I mean, I think we are the same, but I think that we have a lot of different styles, so that makes it kind of neat because we literally, I'll take a bead, I'll take a strand, for instance, and she'll take a strand, and then we come up with the totally something totally different, and then we get excited and inspired by each other, and so yeah.
I think it's great. So look for the emerald green bracelets and necklaces
they will be
at the Old Town.
Leander.
At the Old Town Fest. Mention Lean and Leander. It's not a discount or anything like that. Just say Lean and Leander, okay?
Hey,
you never know. They might feel good.
Well,
they might have tried some essence oils at that point. Feel a little more generous.
We like to gift our stuff, and we have been known to randomly give our jewelry to people because sometimes that person, they really like my bracelet, and I can see it in their eye, and you know what? I'm going to give that to them.
No, I forget where that culturally. In the Hispanic culture, there's a saying for that. I can't remember what it is, but it's almost like if you like it and you're that attracted to it, it is something that you do. It's like, hey, this is supposed to be yours, and I've done that. I've given things like, oh yeah, you can have this. Yeah. I've also not done that. So I don't know. I gotta try to balance it out. No. Why did I do that? Anyway, all right. Well. Now you guys do have Instagram and Facebook, etc., right?
Yes,
so you want to mention those?
Social media platforms. We do have a Facebook. You can actually search it, Essence of the Past, and it will pop up Essential Jewelry. It is a play on words. It's not spelled correctly. It's not spelled like essential oil. It's spelled ESSC.
Okay. I see what you did there.
ENTIAL. Jewelry _jewelry is our handle on Instagram and on Facebook.
Okay.
So it's a scent, right? And so it's going back to its original intention. So
excellent. You guys, and I know last time when we talked, we kind of went into your logo and stuff like that. So I want to end on that last piece because you recently kind of changed your logo a little bit, and I thought this was a really, really interesting thing that you were doing here because the symbol that you've used is something that's alchemy, right?
Yes, it's alchemy symbol for essence. So it's very simple. It's very simple, and then it's got the EJ for essential jewelry. And before it was the tree of life, because of the jewelry itself being from the past, and so you think about the roots and the tree, and then it seemed like a little bit too cliche, I guess.
Right.
And we revisited it because of many reasons, but one most important is that we wanted to go back to our original intention, which was to share essential oils with people, and that was predominantly why we started this company, this jewelry line. And so we decided to go ahead and take that alchemy symbol, add our EJ, and
voila.
Done. So yeah,
I think it's great. I'm a minimalist. Okay, I'm a minimalist at heart, so I loved it. The minute I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really cool, and it pops. So that marketing piece and marketing background was like, very interesting. And I thought the story was cool. I didn't realize it was an alchemy symbol until you told me that. So excellent. Well, thanks you guys. I appreciate y'all taking some time.
So
this was really a lot of fun. Again, if you guys are going to be at the Old Town Festival in June, make sure and look for Trish and Francine and everybody else who's there, okay? Obviously, I'm highlighting them, but there's going to be a lot of people there at the Old Town Festival. It's one of the first things I did when I came to Leander, and I had a great time and met a lot of nice people who have become my friends. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
All right, guys. That's fantastic. I appreciate the time.
I really did enjoy my chat with Trish and Francine, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. I always like to highlight small business here in Leander, and they're one of the two of them are one of the best small business successes I've found so far in Leander, but I'm always looking for more. So if you are a small business that maybe wants to be featured on Lean in Leander, by all means, feel free to reach out to me and let me know what you're thinking, and we'll try to put something together. Always open to doing that if I don't contact you first, so feel free to reach out to me as well. Again, I remind you, go to the Old Town Festival this weekend. It's a really, really neat way to spend your weekend. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I look forward to the next one, and we'll see you next time here on Lean in Leander. Bye, folks.